Let me tell you something. There's a reason why anyone who's a comic book head absolutely despises the concept of time travel, because attempting to figure out all of the this is why I like Doctor Who, because Doctor Who doesn't take time travel seriously. It's just a madman in a blue box going from adventure to adventure to adventure, and in the event that a temporal paradox happens, everything essentially gets reset to before the situation ever occurred. Trying to basically make sense of Kang's timeline is really difficult, because there are so many different variations of one guy. I'm not talking about different variants. I'm talking about different variations of one guy. By the way, spoilers alert for people who haven't seen Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania yet. I'm going to be talking about the mid-credit scene and the post-credit scene in this video. So if you don't want to get spoiled, I would suggest that you do not watch the rest of this video in any way, shape, or form. For the rest of you that are here, let's talk about how crazy this is, because I actually had to put my thoughts down as to everything that's essentially going on, right? So during the post-credit scene, we see Loki and Mobius, right? And they're both in this place looking at a version of Kang in the past. Now, that person may be obscure to most folks, but for the most part, he's not obscure to me. That is Victor Timely. He is a variation, not a variant, a variation of Kang Prime. Kang Prime is the Kang that Scott beats at the end of Quantumania. Kevin Feige's already confirmed that that Kang that's in the quantum realm is Kang Prime. So Kang Prime is basically Victor Timely after he basically discards that disguise he has in that location and goes off to continue Kanging the entire timeline. So Timely is in Timely, Wisconsin. He named the place after himself because, of course, he's Kang. He's in Timely, Wisconsin. Timely, Wisconsin is a place that sits just outside of time. It's not like how, well, it's a lot like how Wanda did Westview in WandaVision, where if you're outside of Westview, Westview looks fine. You enter Westview, and Westview is a completely different place from how it looks on the outside. When you're outside of Timely, it looks like a normal town. You get inside of Timely, and it's more of, I don't really want to say Victorian, but it's really early 1900s. But their technology at the same time is way more advanced than early 1900s, or I'd even say present day, but the people still act as though it's the early 1900s. This place is connected to a Nexus point that Kang uses as his main base of operations, known as Chronopolis. Stick with me here. So when Loki and Mobius are in the crowd, they see Kang. That version of Kang is at an early point in his existence, basically. He hasn't gone off to do Kang things right just yet. He's still probably going by Nathaniel Richards, right? So that version of Kang will eventually return back to the future. When he returns to the future, he's going to overshoot where he intends to go and end up in this desolate wasteland where he has to fight for survival and control. And that is when he essentially becomes Kang the Conqueror. Now, at some point in time, he's going to run into variations of himself. The variations of himself are the Council of Kangs that we see during the mid-credit scene. Everybody's there. Scarlet Centaurion's there. Immortus is there. Ramatut's there. All of the major Kangs are there. You also see the fanboy Kangs, as we like to call them, the ones that are in the crowds cheering. Not all Kangs are made the same. There's Kang Prime, and then there are the Kangs right beneath Kang Prime, like Ramatut, Immortus, Scarlet Centaurion. They're big on the list because those Kangs are Kang Prime at different points in his life. All of the other Kangs you see are basically Kangs from across the multiverse. They're not as powerful as Kang Prime in any way, shape, or form. Here's the thing, and I really want you to think about Wanda again, because as another Nexus being, when you're in the 616 universe, when Wanda traversed over to the 838 universe in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, that Wanda was way weaker than her 616 counterpart. That's because the Nexus beings of the variants are always wildly more powerful than the variants themselves, which is why you have the cheerleader Kangs that are in the crowd cheering for the big boy Kangs, because all of the big boy Kangs on the screen are basically different incarnations of the exact same person, just at different points of his life. So they're all Nexus beings chilling together, which shouldn't be how it works, but Kang controls time and space and understands where he's supposed to be and where he's not supposed to be and at what time he's supposed to be there, to allow him and all of his different Nexus variants to basically exist in that point when the universe should technically implode, because they're all... See how crazy this gets? It gets insane when you start trying to run down Kang the Conqueror's like entire timeline. But the point of this video, right? Everything happens for a reason. The reason why we know that Kang Prime is not dead is because Immortus is still there. Immortus is the end point of Kang's journey. If along the lines you could say that he starts off as Nathaniel Richards, no, not even that, because it's gotten even more crazy in the last few years. So let's say that he starts off as Nathaniel Richards. Kang the Conqueror returns into the past to basically tempt his younger self into villainy. This version says no, he runs into the past, joins the Young Avengers, and becomes Iron Lad. At some point in time, he realizes that he can't stay in the past, because if he stays in the past, the entire timeline is going to collapse. So he willfully goes to the future, overshoots his timeline, and ends up in the desolate wasteland of the 41st century. He has to fight for survival. He conquers the entire planet. He becomes Kang the Conqueror. At some point in time, he returns back into the past and ends up becoming Ramatut. Ramatut gets overthrown by Apocalypse. Apocalypse beats him. He goes back through the timeline again, and he ends up becoming Scarlet Centurion. He becomes Scarlet Centurion. He gets beaten by the Avengers and Wanda. He goes back to the future one more time, conquers the Earth, and becomes Kang the Conqueror once more. Then, way down the timeline, he ends up basically renouncing his Conqueror title, and he ends up turning into Immortus. Immortus is the focal endpoint of where Kang needs to be. He needs to, like, Immortus needs everything to happen behind him so that he can exist. The fact that Immortus is still walking around with the Council of Kangs means that he ain't going nowhere. The Prime Kang that we saw in Ant-Man is still alive. Why do we know he's still alive? What happened when Scott went into the device? See, during that final scene, Scott threw a bunch of those macro mini discs at Kang, and he just shrunk and went into the device itself. The device is a probability nexus where you exist inside of this temporal space with all of the different versions of you that are possible to exist. That's one of the reasons why when Scott was running around, there were versions of him that worked at Baskin Robbins, because it was a possibility that Scott never became Ant-Man, and this was as far as he would ever go. He'd always just be a Baskin Robbins worker. This is bad. This is really bad, because now that Kang is basically inside that same probability place, that means that he is basically in combat. And, well, I don't even know if he'd be in combat. Technically, he would be just theoretically talking to all of these different variants of himself. And as he's in there, he will learn more and more about all of these different variants, why they went this direction, what caused them to go in this direction, the reasons for them locking him away, the reasons for them going against him, the reasons why they did this, the reasons why they did that, how to kill him, how to go through their armor. Everything he needs to know and learn is now inside that space. And while he's inside that space, time moves completely differently. So for him, let's say it's only 10 years or 100 years, but on the outside, inside of the microverse, it's only really been like a day, which means eventually he's going to find how to escape from that prison. And when he escapes from that prison, he is going to escape from the microdimension. And when he gets out of there, everything is going to go to hell, because I'm telling you right now, we're probably not going to see that version of Kang for the next few outings. I feel like the next few outings we're going to be basically running into all of the different variants of him. We're going to get the Avengers or whoever versus Immortus. We're going to get the X-Men and whoever versus Ramatut. We're going to get Scarlet Witch and Doctor Strange. Actually, it'll probably be Scarlet Witch and Doctor Strange versus Ramatut. Or maybe even Scarlet Centurion. We'll see. I'm hoping that we get Scarlet Witch to come back and body one of the versions of Kang. But as these different versions of him are going to get beaten, we're going to go right back to the quantum realm. And when we get back down to the quantum realm, that version of Kang is going to come back. He's going to reassume his mantle as Kang Prime. And when he returns with all of this new knowledge and all of these different things that he's basically figured out while he was in there, he is going to create the Kang dynasty. And shit is going to go absolutely fucking sideways. But if you're as like, oh my god, this is basically, you know, I would say that I honestly think Rick and Morty is doing a fantastic job riffing just Kang in general in regards to like Prime Rick and all of the different Ricks, and the war between Prime Rick and all of the other Ricks, and the fact that the Rick that we currently have isn't the Rick that we started off with, but he's not as good as Prime Rick because Prime Rick is better than all the other Ricks. That's basically what you have to look forward to in regards to Kang. Just know, Prime Kang, the one who Scott beat, the one that they sent into that device, he is not dead. He will most certainly be coming back. We still haven't actually gotten any answers to Shang-Chi. Even though when you sit down and you look at Shang-Chi in regards to the rings are sending out some type of signal, some type of beacon. We don't know what that's going to be feeding into or where exactly that's going to go. I have a nagging suspicion it is all going to come full circle and have something to do with him. Like he's sending out feelers in some way, shape, or form to see how he's going to escape from the prison that Scott basically trapped him in, which means Scott Lang is correct to walk around and worry about whether or not he did the right thing. He did not do the right thing. All he did was make a normal villain. I wouldn't even really say normal villain. All he did was take a dangerous person and amp that dangerous person up by like 1,000. Because the version of Kang that's about to come out isn't going to be the one that's screaming or letting people know that he is Kang. It's going to be the version of Kang that steps out and goes, if I move that rock 3 centimeters tomorrow at 9 o'clock a.m., when you step out of your house, you're going to trip and break your neck on the steps, and I'm going to keep it moving, eating my sandwich. That is the version of Kang that's going to come out of that temporal probability bubble. But let me know what you think. Comment down below. Were you able to follow? I'm looking back on this time information and I'm like, I was able to follow. I hope you were able to follow, because oh boy, that was a lot. This is why I don't like time travel stories like in general, because then you just get into like this weird quagmire of just what if, hold on now, but you could, yeah. Let me know, comment down below. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.